What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Courtside Creatives. I'm David Verjano, and today we're going to be talking about the Miami Heat and their chances at contending this season. The real question is, do the Heat have enough? And that is what's been circulating across the media, across Heat fans and Heat Twitter. And I'm here to kind of go through what they have right now, what other moves they might have made, the ones that might make before the season starts, and really the outlook in terms of seeding for this team entering the 2026-27 season. So without further ado, let's start by looking at the starting five. You guys have seen this. You know that they landed Giannis Antetokounmpo, the biggest kind of shakeup in the offseason, as well as adding Tim Hardaway Jr. for some perimeter scoring. They did not land LeBron James in the lengthy decision. He finally chose the Philadelphia 76ers. But with that said, the Heat have these five guys that are probably going to be the projected starters on opening night. There has been some rumors as to that shooting guard spot. You know, if it's going to be Tim Hardaway Jr., if it's going to be Pell Larson, if it's going to be some other kind of makeup, especially if the Heat make another move. But let's just say that these are the starting five, right? You have the two anchors in the front court with Bam Adebayo and Giannis. It's going to be really tough for teams to score in the paint when you have these two kind of not just protecting the paint, but being able to extend out because they can guard pretty much 1 through 5, 2 through 5. And it's going to be really interesting to see what Eric Spoelstra cooks up with these two anchoring that front court on the defensive end. Then you have a menace off night here with Davion Mitchell. He's going to be the point of attack defender. He's going to be the one that's going to be really hounding the opposing point guard and guards on the other end. So the Heat have a really solid foundation defensively when it comes to the roster that they currently have and the starting five. Not to mention, you know, Andrew Wiggins is a really solid defender. Sometimes he takes the toughest wing defender on the opposing team on a nightly basis. And so 4 out of these 5 are top tier defenders in the NBA, and the Heat should have a solid defensive front when it comes to playing up against any team in the league. Tim Hardaway Jr. obviously isn't known for his defense, but the Heat have enough to surround him and support him out there. And the main reason why he would be starting is because the Heat need that perimeter shooting. They need that spacing. They need to be able to spread the floor when, people start double teaming Giannis or Bam, and they need to kick it out for a 3. So Timmy is going to be someone who's going to benefit from that spacing and going to be able to hit those open shots. I believe he shot over 40% last season. And let's not forget Davion Mitchell as well. He shot 39% last season. So people keep saying, like, do the Heat have enough shooting? They have some guys on this roster that definitely can fill that gap. But I know for a fact that they're going to be trying to add some other pieces to make sure that they have reserves and they have backups, because you know how it is in an 82-game season that players go down, they need some rest, and you need to be able to put the next man up in that case. So this is the starting 5 for the Heat. I think it's a really solid starting lineup for the Eastern Conference, which is going to be very difficult. But I think that Miami is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with a lot of teams in the East. And really, you know, the difference here is we're talking about regular season versus postseason, and those are two different conversations. But before we get into that, let's get into the bench, right? In that Giannis trade, adding Bobby Portis was also a big plus, because now Miami gets another big, another stretch big, someone who not only can shoot the 3, I believe he shot 39% last season, or even higher than that. But he also rebounds. He can play defense. He's an energy guy. He kind of brings some of that energy and tenacity that Udonis Haslem brought to the Miami Heat. So I like his fit on this team, and I think it's good to pair him with Giannis to have a little bit of cohesion from his time in Milwaukee. So I like the Portis addition. I think that it adds some good depth to this team when it comes to big men. You got Pell Larson, one of my favorite players on this team. He's progressively gotten better year over year. He just makes smart plays, and he's a hustle guy. He's a glue guy. He's going to attack the rim. He's going to, slash and find an opening whenever, someone else is trying to make a play. And he's also not afraid to make the next pass. So he's just a really well-rounded player. He keeps showing flashes of greatness when he plays on the Swedish national team in the EuroLeague. I think the one thing entering this season that he needs to work on is his three-point percentage. He shot just 32% the past season. But if you look at his form and you look at the kinds of shots he's taking, they are good. The form is good, and the shots are good. It's not like he's taking tough shots or jacking up shots that shouldn't be taken. So I have a feeling that he's going to improve that percentage, and he's going to benefit from playing alongside Giannis. So I think that we're going to see another progression, another leap from Larson this year, given more responsibilities now that a lot of Miami's bench players are no longer on the team. And then this is the wild card, Nikola Jovic, right? He had a terrible season, really a letdown, especially as his new contract was kicking in. It seems like Miami is still trusting him to do right by them and be able to bounce back this season. And at least there were some good flashes when he played in the EuroLeague for Serbia, playing alongside Jokic. And I think he's going to have a similar situation here playing with Giannis, where you have someone that draws a lot of gravity, double teams, and isn't afraid to make the extra pass and creates these openings that he should be able to benefit from the extra spacing and be able to, cut to the rim, hit that open shot, do whatever it takes to fill into this new system. So I am hopeful, might be delusional, that Nikola Jovic will be able to bounce back this season. And that's a huge X factor for Miami, because it feels like a lot of people have counted him out and don't think that he has anything left in the tank. But I do think, like, this kid's 23 years old. He still has an opportunity to prove himself. And I think that there's some room there for him to, step up to that role. And then you got the rookie, right? The second rounder Miami just picked up in Ryan Conwell. He had an awesome summer league, and you can tell that he gets a shot off with very limited spacing. So imagine what's going to happen when he has an offense that's run through Giannis or like a more sound point guard like Davion Mitchell. I think that he's going to have an incredible year coming off the bench in limited minutes. The way that you saw, Kasper Siakachonis have great three-point percentage and be able to make those three-point shots, I think that Conwell has even a bigger bag when it comes to three-point shooting and being able to shoot off the dribble and shoot in rhythm and motion. So Conwell has an opportunity here to earn some minutes early on and benefit from this new system. And Miami bringing back Fontecchio on a really friendly deal, I think was smart. You got a veteran. He's obviously also a three-point shooter. He had a really up and down year. I hope this season he's able to stabilize that and not just, start off the year scorching hot and then cool off really bad in the second half of the season. I think that there's hopefully a middle ground for him. And he also can rebound and play some decent defense. So I think that it's good to have that kind of veteran presence and someone who knows the system already to be on this team and be able to contribute in limited minutes as well. And then let's not forget Drew Smith. He's not really known for his scoring, but his defensive presence is awesome, especially if Davion has to get rest or, God forbid, he has to, he's out with an injury. You have another defensive point guard who's going to be able to slot in there and wreak some havoc to the opposing defenders. He was amazing at creating turnovers, getting steals, and just being a pest overall. So I think that Miami has some solid guys here. They don't look that sexy when you look at them at face value, but it's really about how these pieces fit together. And you know that Spoelstra is a master at being able to get the most out of the players that he does put out there. So that's the starting bench. That's like pretty much the core bench players. And then you got the reserves. Looking at the reserves here, you got Myron Gardner, who's also an energy guy. He can dunk, he can shoot threes, he can kind of score at different levels. Still feels like he's growing into his role on this team, and he has some room for improvement as well. But he's a guy that I could see eating some minutes throughout courses of the year, especially heading into the All-Star break. So I think that, even when he played last season, you could see how the Heat are able to utilize him. It felt like in the same way that they used Derek Jones Jr. and they used, Caleb Martin and other guys like that. I think that that's really what they're aiming at. And I think he's going to be able to fill that role this season with a little bit more responsibility than maybe last season. Then you got the two ways that Miami has already signed. They have a third opportunity to fill in another two-way. One is Vlad Golden, and the other one is Trey Donaldson. Honestly, I have not been sold on Vlad Golden. I know that the Heat just need another reserve big here, and maybe he's just filling that in the interim. But he's good when he's around the rim in terms of blocking and dunking, but it's not like he has great touch offensively. And he also, just mobility wise, I feel like some of the other athletic bigs in the league will take advantage of him. He's not able to kind of like stay in front of them. So I don't know what his true role or how long he'll be on this team, honestly. But for the meantime, he has a two-way contract with the Heat. He'll be playing some games on the Heat roster as well as Skyforce. And then Trey Donaldson was a little bit of a surprise. Undersized guard out of the University of Miami, but he had a really solid summer league. He showed that he knows how to facilitate the ball. He's not afraid to attack the basket. He can shoot the three as well, and is able to get his shot off with very limited spacing. I'm not going to say he's anywhere near Jalen Brunson, but I feel like he studies some of those moves because I saw some of those kinds of like, fadeaways and movements that someone that's undersized is able to get off. But again, it's a two-way guy. He has an uphill battle to try and make this roster. But from the flashes that I saw in the summer league, I have some hope that he might be able to sneak his way into the team and get some minutes, at least through portions of the season. Then you got some free agents that either are looking to fill in that last two-way spot or maybe one of the guaranteed roster spots in Kashad Johnson, Jameer Young, and Trevor Keels. Kashad, I mean, he also is an energy guy. He's like plays bigger than his size. He obviously was a dunk champion last season, so you know he can get above the rim and play like that. He also is really good at rebounding, so the Heat might keep him around just for that if they're not able to fill in with other veterans that they feel match the system. But he's kind of in limbo right now. I'm curious to see what the Heat end up doing with him. And then Jameer Young and Trevor Keels, these are the two guys. One of them is going to be an odd man out. I think if I were to pick, I would say Trevor Keels would be the guy that Miami hands the last two-way contract to. He knows how to get buckets on a consistent basis. He had that incredible 12 of 12 3-point performance in the summer league. I mean, in the G League last season. So you know he can get his shots off. Jameer Young is also able to get buckets, and you can tell that he is a very poised and ready to play a guard, but he has less size than Keels, and there are moments where you can tell he gets jammed up. I don't think he has like as many moves in his bag when it comes to dribbling and that kind of stuff to be able to position himself to get a roster spot with the Heat. But again, those two guys, if Miami needs scoring, those are two guys that possibly could fill in that gap. And then now we can move on to really what's left, right? Which is Miami still has obviously that 1-2-way roster spot, and then you have at least two other standard contracts that they can fill. And the names that you've been hearing in terms of free agency or potential buyouts, one of them being DeMar DeRozan. Obviously a guy who can get his bucket in whichever way he wants. He's not really a three-point shooter, but he knows how to find his way into the mid-range and to get into the basket. And he creates that his own kind of bucket. So I think that especially if he's coming off the bench, because I don't know how he would fit into the starting lineup, essentially. I feel like you need a three-point specialist, a three-point sniper like a Hardaway to start. And then DeRozan could slot in maybe the first one off the bench. So I could see a fit on this team. I just don't see a fit on the starting five because of the spacing situation. Another one that's been thrown out there is Bradley Beal. I don't know what his situation is in terms of his health, how much he has left in the tank, and they've been linked together, the Heat and Beal, for some time. So there's mutual interest. I just don't know really what he's going to bring to the table. I do know that the Heat have a good track record of being able to maximize these players. So if they do decide to bring him in, I would assume that they've been able to identify that he is ready to play, that he has enough in the tank, and that they know how to utilize him to provide essentially what Terry Rozier was supposed to provide for the Heat. And unfortunately, that crash and burn the way it did. But if he does make a roster, if he does get added to the Heat, he could be another guard that can get some buckets, and it's definitely an area that Miami needs a little bit of bolstering in. And then the other names that have been circulated are Klay Thompson with the Dallas Mavericks. They currently, I believe, are at 16 roster spots, so they do need to shed someone. And from what I've heard, his representation has been talking to the front office to see, what the future in Dallas looks like. We all know that staying in Dallas means you're not contending this season. The West is a bloodbath as well. So he's probably trying to find a way out and hopefully get bought out so that another team can have a shot at him and he can contend. So that has been probably the biggest name outside of DeMar DeRozan that has been linked to the Miami Heat. Shams has been reporting it too. So you could tell that that's probably something that the Heat are watching very closely to see if he pries loose and they're able to add him to the roster. A new one that's been thrown out there recently is Drew Holiday. It seems like he might be getting a buyout or get, released from the Portland Trail Blazers, which would obviously Miami has wanted him for a while as well. That would be a great addition. Just adding, another veteran guard who knows how to play defense, can shoot the timely three, and is like a better version of Davion Mitchell. And honestly, I don't know, maybe Davion's slightly better defender at this stage of his career, but having Drew and Davion back there and then Drew Smith as the third option, like that is an incredible defensive backcourt when it comes to your point guard position. And all guys, maybe with the exception of Drew Smith, they can hit timely threes and take advantage of the spacing that Giannis and Bam will create. And then other names like, former Heat alumni like Gabe Vincent have been thrown out there. I feel like that is like last case scenario where they don't know, they want to add a veteran and they just want someone that knows the system. Gabe obviously has not had great seasons since leaving the Heat, but he knows the system and Miami knew how to maximize him when he was on here. So, those are the guys that I've been hearing. I know there's a few others that have been circulating. I think the last one that I'll mention here is if Miami wants to add another big to replace Vlad Golden, Nick Richards has been thrown out there, and he's someone that could, already has much more experience than Golden and can fit into the Heat system as a backup big alongside Portis. So those are the guys to keep an eye out on, and we're going to be monitoring the situation, especially as we get close to the start of the season. The last thing that we'll cover here is, given the lay of the land, given this roster, where does Miami stack up in the Eastern Conference? And if I want to be a little bit of middle of the ground, I would say that this is a top 6 team in the East, and it is a very difficult East. You still have the Knicks, you still have the Celtics that are probably taking a step back, but they're not going to be a pushover team. You're going to have the Sixers now. The Pacers are going to be on the rise again now that Tyrese Halliburton is back. The Raptors adding Kawhi Leonard, that's going to be a problem. You still have the Hawks seem like a team that are going to be tough just because they have a lot of depth. I don't know how they make it all work together, but they are a team that isn't going to be an easy out. As well as, the Orlando Magic, they got a new coach. They still have some talent on that roster. It's all a matter of how they utilize them. So there's a lot of people that are going to be competing for those, top 8 spots, top 6 spots in the East. But I do think that Miami has enough to at least be in the top 6. I don't really see them being a top 3 team in the East. I don't think this team is necessarily built for the regular season as much as it's built for the postseason. This is going to be a lot of learning what pieces fit and what are the right combinations in Eric Spoelstra's system to then decide as the postseason nears, all right, now we're ready to lock down. And as we saw, there were some games in the last playoff run where you saw like the low hundreds. It felt like some games were felt like they were in the 90s, back to 90s style basketball. So that plays in Miami's favor. Like this team defensively right now looks like the kind of team that when it comes playoff time, get ready, they're going to clamp down. They're going to be able to do what it takes to stop the other team from scoring. It's a matter of how are we going to get our buckets outside of the paint and mid-range, right? It's all about if we're able to lock down that portion of it and be able to start hitting open threes, then that's when this team becomes a true problem. and a true contender in the East. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye out on what's going on and what other players and other moves happen between now and the start of the season. But that's it for now, and we'll see you on the flip side. See you guys. Peace.